Good afternoon, welcome back to Matchday Live, and it's half-time here at the Etihad Stadium. You can see the players making their way into their changing rooms, and it is Manchester City 1, Everton 0, but still very tight on that pitch. Here to dig into the first half action is Mr. David James and Shaun Gota. Shaun, I'll begin with you. Assessment of that first half, please.
Yeah, it was actually, I was saying earlier that I thought we'd really come out the blocks and really go for them, but it seemed as though it was a controlled sort of half by City, and City wanted to control the game, control the tempo. It didn't really reach the levels and the tempo that we normally get to see. I'm not sure if that's because of them having at times a low block, but again, I thought we'd have been able to move it a bit quicker early on. But it's saying that we've had control of the ball, control of the game, but I thought the tempo would have been a bit more. I think the highlight really, I think also a bit of the crowd was I don't know if it's subdued, whether everybody's thinking about the celebrations and saving energy, but I think when Haaland had that little situation, he got the call for himself, the referee gave him a call, and he sort of got the crowd into it during the crowd. And whether he sensed it from the crowd or whether it's the crowd wanted it from the team to really go to another level, but I'm sure that will happen. Listen, we've controlled the game, it's been comfortable for us, but I thought we'd just have another gear, another level.
Absolutely, and I mean, you mentioned there Haaland is the goal scorer. We'll focus on his goal in a second, but speaking of maybe that extra level that's to come, and Shaun, you kind of alluded to it, how much of it is it that just City need to take a step up, or how well are Everton doing? Because as well, there was a little 5-10 minute spell there at the end of the first half where Everton actually were kind of had more possession than City, which is very rare to see at the Etihad.
Yeah, but come on, Kel, I think any City fan would expect or is used to that kind of first half performance. It's not that, like Shaun said, it's not that Everton have been given chance after chance. It's just that City haven't blown them away, yes, which is quite normal. Yeah. The Leeds game just the other night, 46th minute before Rodri scores.
Yes.
So I'm not surprised by what I've seen. I'm not worried by what I've seen in the sense that Everton haven't been causing any problems. The only concern really is the fact that there's been 5 bookings already.
Yes.
And KDB and Haaland are amongst them. And Bernardo Silva. 3 of your most creative, either goal scorers or assisting players, have been booked. So whether Pep looks at that with games coming up as a possible substitution, just to be careful. But other than that, no. It's still either a 1-0 or a 5-0 game. Yeah. We're talking about City, and it just happens like that, and all of a sudden it's like 3-0.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you make a brilliant point in terms of the card situation, because the fact that where it is, definitely. We all know or we want a second goal, but I think because of the yellow card situations, we'd need a second and a third goal, because as a player, if you know the game is sort of won, you got them at arm's length. Then when there's situations where there's challenges, you don't go near it because I'm on a yellow card. But as long as it's 1-0, they're both there that sometimes it may be on the edge of the box. You're keeping momentum, you go in for a challenge, you may slightly get it wrong, and that could be a yellow card. So needing that second goal and third goal, because the players that are on that yellow card will then go, I don't really need to, because it kind of takes it off a little bit. Speaking of that, I was going to kind of come back to, but while we're on the subject, and Andy Morrison said it in commentaries with Alistair Mann on the City app, that we forget Haaland is still a young lad, and maybe, we said there was a challenge early doors from Godfrey, and I'm sure every fantasy football manager was worried for a second, slightly. But he got back up. But you could see from there, he had it. He had something between his teeth, and probably that's what came out in that challenge. So there is a bit. Is that where an older player needs to come just measure the emotions a little bit?
Yeah, it'd be nice to think that you lose that with age. If that's what drives Erling Haaland to be the guy that scores all these goals, then you don't want to take it out of him. Not that he's actually hurt anyone, that's the thing. But I think there's a thin line between being energetic and dangerous, and even with the challenge on Mymalenko, I don't even think that was a bad challenge.
No,
probably worth a booking because of the timing. But as long as you keep it within the boundaries of the rules of the game, then fine, just do it.
Yeah.
Because that will probably get him another 2 goals in the second half. That's the kind of character you want.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
In a strange way, him getting that challenge, obviously he's reacted to it, and he sort of kept it in his head, and he thought, if I get the opportunity, I want to probably leave something on one of them. where we saw him slide, because of his pace and he slides for a good 7-8 yards, it looks as though it's really aggressive. But I'm looking, when we saw the replay, I thought he ain't really touched him. And even if he does make contact, he's actually going honestly for the ball, and it didn't look a dangerous challenge. Because you see someone slide and players are going sort of different directions, you think, oh, it's a collision. But because he's going aggressive to win the ball, it looked a lot worse than what it was.
There is another thing, and he wouldn't be privy to this obviously because he's on the pitch, but the challenge with Godfrey wasn't a bad challenge.
No.
You know, it wasn't like Godfrey's tried to hurt him. He's just accidentally, it looked like he accidentally treads on his ankle, and in a weird way, it's kind of like the fact it was an accident makes it worse.
Yes, yeah.
Because Haaland's now pumped up, he scored his goal, and he's looking obviously to add to it. Now, hopefully Pep in the changing room will just say, this is what happened. Keep steady.
Yes.
You know, we love the enthusiasm, but just make sure you don't do anything silly.
Keep it calm. Well, speaking of that man, though, he definitely wasn't doing something silly when he put the ball once again in the back of the net. Now 21 goals for the season. He's a machine. You can't stop him, and it was a really well taken goal. Actually, I thought the move as well was a beautiful move from Jack De Bruyne. Well, you can talk us through it.
Well, yeah, it was some really good interplay, and I believe it was De Bruyne that rose it out wide to Mahrez, but Mahrez is the one that, I mean, we talk about Haaland because he scored the goal, but Mahrez absolutely cuts the defender apart. I mean, he goes, the defender's thinking, I don't want Mahrez to go on his left. He gets the half a yard on his left and fakes the cross and chops it back on his right. And he said, lie down, defender. and from there, he has the touch, and then he just pulls it. And this is why, when I said earlier, but he knows where to be. Defenders have to run in to protect that 6-yard area, and he's running forward, but he's actually pausing. So as they're running in full speed to protect their space, he's actually just standing still, pausing, and the ball just comes through to him, and he's able to just get his right foot on it and swing it in. And it looks something really simple, but for goal scorers, that he sees that fractions of seconds before everyone else.
Yeah, it does. And also, I think within that goal I think Jack Grealish was also involved. I think it was Jack, because De Bruyne does that lovely dink ball to Jack.
Oh, yes.
Who then plays it out. And speaking of Jack, great battle between him and Patterson, who is one of the other bookings now for Jack. But Jack as well, instrumental, and I think has had a great half as well. Yeah,
I mean, there's been a lot of positives in here. Like you say with Jack, I mean, the ball, I sort of refer back to the Leeds game again, where Jack is in positions where a lot of people would say, go and have a shot. But instead he picks out Mahrez, you say Mahrez with a little chop. There's one part that I think Frank Lampard, I have to mention the Everton defending, I think it was Cody, but if I'm wrong, forgive me, who runs back on the line behind Jordan Pickford, waiting for Haaland's shot. Jordan Pickford's in front of him, so he has no effect at all. If he'd have stayed on the edge of the 6-yard box, then Haaland wouldn't have had an easier shot.
Yes.
So technically, Everton's defending was very, very poor there. However, going back to Jack, and you say with Patterson being booked, Jack's not on a booking.
Yeah.
Jack, do yourself a favour. Just keep attacking.
Keep getting at
because
it.
That's when that little late challenge comes in. It's not that you want players getting sent off, but if you've got someone who can't commit fully to something, might as well take advantage of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, we'll take a little pause there, because if you were joining us before the game, remember we're live an hour before every game. We've had a poll going on Twitter at the moment on @ManCity. The results now in. We've been asking you to choose your favourite goal of 2022, and I can now reveal the winner. It was very, very tight. I'm trying to look at my percentages here. 38% for the winner, 31% voted for second place, but the winner was KDB. KDB, Rodri in second, but it was this goal from Kev. Rides the challenge.
Boom.
I'm top picks that one out. I mean, they were both beautiful.
Well, technically, listen, it was absolutely a beautiful goal. Well struck. I mean, you want this man on the ball in that position, because he's waiting for the run. The run doesn't appear, and then he's just like, well, I'll just pass it in the goal. And he's probably the only player on the pitch in that situation, fraction of a second, nothing else on, and thinks, well, he can do that out of reach of the goalkeeper into the bottom corner. Technically, brilliant goal.
Unbelievable, but also arguably our player of 2022 as well, and he's definitely picked up where he left off before the World Cup. As we look ahead then, of course, to the second half, so David.
Who voted Kevin?
I had Rodri, then Kevin. You had Kevin first?
They've gone with. I think they've gone with you, Dave.
I'll let
you
you
might
know.
have called it.
Yeah. You did play striker as well. You see. So
He knows.
That's
That's why I tried against Middlesbrough.
What do you think will have been said in the dressing room then, in the City changing room, and will it be more of the same, or would you like to see something a little bit different, David?
With regards to performance, general performance, I don't think there's a problem at all. I mean, it's one of these things, we kind of want City to have 15 shots in each half on target and expect loads and loads of goals. But they're 1-0 up, you're in a position that you want to be at half-time, in control of the game. Edison hasn't had to make a save yet. The only conversation I think that needs to be had is just be careful and not say calm down. The bookings are a problem.
Yes.
Because when you've got, as I say, influential players, not that anyone on the team shouldn't is not worthy, but if Kevin De Bruyne for any reason got sent off, then all of a sudden your main playmaker is off the field. If Haaland picks up another booking, your main goal scorer is off the field.
Yes.
That would be the only concern.
Yeah, and I guess maybe then there could possibly, if it stays as you were saying, if you get a couple goal cushions, the game kind of chills out. But if it stays like that, you'd maybe think Pep might change it. I mean, we've got Julian Alvarez back in the squad there, possibly, and then you've got Gundogan, of course, Phil Foden on the bench. So lots of choices if you do need to just be wary of it.
It's an interesting situation because we've got a couple on yellow. Does Pep think, you know what, I don't want to risk it? Because I know in the back of his mind he'd also be thinking, we've got 2 or 3 big games coming up.
Chelsea, United.
Chelsea twice, a couple of times, United. So he will not want players to be getting sent off because we can also get players sent off in an attacking situation and see a challenge coming, perhaps jump over it, and it looks like it's a dive.
Yeah. And
then all of a sudden it's a yellow card. So this is an interesting period in terms of the next 10 minutes. What Pep, does he go and say, you know what, I'm going to get De Bruyne off because I don't want to risk not having him available for other games, etc. So you make a
it's a weird thing about sending offs. I mean, they're not all equal because obviously they miss the next game, but you'll miss, depending on when it happens, potentially a large proportion of this game.
Yes, So Phil, let's just hope there's no sense.
Exactly.
Or maybe the fullback for Everton. Well, listen, 1-0 is the current score here at the Etihad. The officials there ready to come out. Edison ready as well. So it's now time for me to hand over to Alistair Mann and Andy Morrison with your commentary on the City app, and come join us at full time. Come on, City.
Well, a very warm welcome back to the Etihad Stadium. At the moment, the only team on the pitch are the ground staff, who are just getting their forks and their rakes, and I can imagine a lot of green-fingered people out there laughing at my description of the tools they're using. I'm going to put my hands very firmly on the table and say I know nothing about gardening. Are you a green-fingered person, Andy?
No.
No. Okay,
No.
so I'm on safe ground here. I'm waffling because at the moment the City players are not actually out on the park, neither are the Everton ones. They're in the tunnel, but they're not coming out onto the park. Let me just give you some stats from that first half, because it was as dominant as it sounded if you were listening around the world. 70% possession, 5 attempts, just 1 on target, 3 corners, and in the Everton column, no attempts, no corners, and therefore obviously none on target either. So it was as dominant a first half as it sounded. The stats bear that out. But the Blues are only 1 goal up, and if it's only 1-0, then obviously it is by no means over, this game. James Tarkowski has just led the pink-shirted Evertonians back onto the field of play.